haven't done yet, just I highly encourage you to log in and then post your BIOS and do kind of follow the group over there. Okay, good. Last time we had we covered, I think, 3 chapters, and we went from the background information of why we need project management, and we also discussed the 5 reasons why project management in certification is really good. Because number 1 is it's the credential, and then also the commitments, and then also the marketability on the area. We also discussed in Unit 1, Unit 2 actually, the organizational structure and how the organizational culture affects the success of a project. And we also discussed the type of culture, from the authoritarian culture to all the way down to the market culture, and then how each culture has a positive or a negative impact on the success of a project. And we also went on and then discussed the process groups. What type of process groups exist in project management, from initiation all the way down to closing. So we have initiation, planning, execution, controlling and monitoring, and then closing. And on top of that, we also discussed the 8 plus to the 10 knowledge area modules that a project, the PMI has, from integration all the way down to procurement, actually to stakeholders. So integration, and then we have scope, time, costs, quality, human resource, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholders. So we kind of touched the high level, but we're going to go in detail for each one of them. And then one thing also I mentioned in our class, that we're going to use the kind of a funnel type of approach for you to break it down, the entire project management discipline, into 3 different sections. And the 13 modules are categorized into these 3 sections. The first one is what we call it the organizational flavor of managing a project. So organization, so in this part we discussed Unit 1 is where the organizational structure of the project, and then Unit 2 how culture affects, and then in Unit 3 we do the process group, and then of course Unit 4 was the integration, which we're going to discuss later on, because I have a different flavor for that. This is integration. So this is part 1 of the process. Then once we kind of go through and then understand how organizations affect, then the second section of the whole project management is the technical skills. Okay, this is what we're going to focus today. So the technical skills required for project managers are covered here in different units. So Unit 5 is scope, how the project scope is defined, which we're going to do that. Unit 6 is time, how is time management has been dealt here. And Unit 7 is the quality of a project. Unit 8 is human resource, and probably another unit is Unit 10 is risk. Okay, this is the second part, that technical aspects of project management. Then the third part, which ties everything together, is the human aspects. This is the human. So the human aspect means that all soft skills. So this, the B is hard skills, hard or technical skills. And this part is called the soft skills. So soft skills includes communication. You remember what we discussed back then, that a project manager spend, like, what's the percentage time project manager spend communicating? 90%. 90% and above that the project manager communicate with stakeholders, with management, with the team, and everything. Yes, that was one of the questions on the PMI exam. So the soft skills includes the emotional intelligence and the leadership skills, and also some of the legal and then the contract aspects. Legal and contract aspects. So when you see this cone, looks like an ice cream, yes? All right, okay. So when you see this, this funnel, we can also divide this into 3 different sections. This one is, because it's broad, we can call it the breadth of the system. So breadth. So in a kind of, in a very broader sense, and then the second part of the the section is the depth part. So the depth of a project management. So this is what, technically, this is what people used to call it project management. And you remember what we said back at the beginning is that 66% of projects fail. Means that 2 out of 3 projects fail because oftentimes organizations consider this part as the solution. Then they step back and then they say, wait, why what are the reasons for this failure? And then they found out that, number one, management buy-in. Means that if you don't get the senior managers or the executives to buy into your project, then chances are high that your project is going to fail. And misaligning with the organizational structure. If your organization is practicing a different type of organizational structure, and then if you are doing your project, that's another recipe for failure. Okay, so they added this part, and then they also quickly realized that, well, not only having a technical skills and an organizational support, the PM should be really good in mastering those soft skills. Because remember, you can be a super duper technical guy, but if you don't know how to go about with other people, it's a failure. And when I teach the communication portion, I always refer the movie by Robin Williams. It's called RV. I don't know how many of you have watched that movie. In the RV, that movie, Robin Williams was working as a high school dropout salesperson, and his manager, his company, wanted to buy another company, and the vice president actually brought a guy from Harvard with business degree and everything. He came with all 3 seats, 3 pieces, and he wanted the people to convince. And he literally ran the entire presentation dry. And the board of directors, they said, no, it just doesn't make sense. Then Robin's boss was really angry, and then when he was talking to people, and then they said, why don't you pick Robin, and he can go and convince the people. And Robin's boss said that, come on, he's a high school dropout. And then his boss said that, but he has a good emotional intelligence skill. And finally, he convinced him, and then Robin went back, and in 20 minutes, he clicked with the people, and he convinced them that it's good to buy the company. And because he promised his family that he's going to take them to Hawaii for vacation, and now his office asked me to go to Colorado. That's why he rented the RV, and after that it's just a movie. Okay, but the point here is that sometimes you may have people with like straight A, 4.0, with everything is like in paper, but they don't connect. And for project management, you really need to have that soft skills. You really need to have the thick skins that tolerate those stress. So that's why they added additional section, and this is called the application. The application of all knowledge. So you have the breadth that includes at the high level how organizations are really affecting your project. Then at the depths of the cone are all of those technical areas, and then in the application, this is the human aspect where we talk about we're going to talk about communication, leadership, emotional intelligence, and negotiation skills. So this is pretty much the roadmap for the entire project management concepts. So we kind of touch this, and then we also discussed that. So now when you see here, you have an organization, you have a technical skills, and then you have the human aspect. So what is missing is what we call it the integration. Because oftentimes projects fail during that integration. You may have one component of the project is really successful, and then the other one is also, but when you are trying to connect the two, that's where you really have that issue. So integration is another area where we're going to discuss, and integration in your slide is unit 4. So I'm taking that one out and then putting it at the end so that you'll have a logical flow from one side to another. So that's what actually we discussed last time. Okay, now today we will directly go to the scope, project scope management. And by the way, all of those video lectures we had last time, and they will be posted on the online class. So if you really want to go back and then revisit, that's probably the perfect time to do. So do you have any question before we start? So Nicole, this is a perfect time for you.